That's it for announcements, and now we will go into the discourse. And as I've mentioned a couple of times, today's discourse will be on forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of the most important steps on the path to enlightenment. If you have not forgiven yourself and forgiven others, you will not be able to pass through the eye of the needle. Forgiveness is so important that when the Christ was asked to tell his followers how to pray, and he gave them the Lord's Prayer, he included forgiveness in that prayer. As you know, that portion of the Lord's Prayer goes, "Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us." Forgiveness is a choice that we have to make. No one can force us to forgive another person. Nobody can force us to forgive ourselves. We are the only one with the power to do that. And we can either choose to go forward and forgive, or we can hold on to whatever person or thing has harmed us, or hold on to any regrets or things that we have in our own lives that we are not forgiving ourselves for. It doesn't matter how many times a person tells you to forgive. It doesn't matter how forceful they are. It doesn't matter how convincing they are. They're not the ones who can actually do the forgiving for us. We have to do it. So I wanted to go into a few of the reasons why we should choose to forgive. And I wanted to start off with a brief discussion about some studies that have been done on forgiveness. Actually, there's a lot of studies that have been done on forgiveness. So from a practical scientific point of view, there are valid reasons why you may want to choose to forgive. So these studies have demonstrated that if you do forgive, you can decrease depression, decrease anxiety, and decrease unhealthy anger. These studies have shown that you can lower your blood pressure and you can increase the effect of your immune system all through forgiveness. So what these studies are showing us is that if you don't forgive, if you hold on to things, that actually can be detrimental to you mentally, emotionally, and physically. Mystics have known about the power of forgiveness for time immemorial. We just went over the fact that the Christ put forgiveness in the Lord's Prayer, but I wanted to share a story which I've shared before, and this is a story from the tradition of the Tibetan Buddhists. And the story goes as follows. There are two monks, and these two monks are wrongfully incarcerated. And during their lengthy incarceration, the monks are both continually, repeatedly tortured. After many years, the monks are freed from prison, and they go out into the world and live their lives. One day, there's a chance meeting between the two monks. The first monk asks the second, "Have you forgiven your jailers?" And in response, the second monk says, "No, I have not. I will never, ever forgive them for what they did to me." And the first monk then says, well, then you are still being jailed by those people. So what the monk was trying to say is that we are the jailers. We create the prison. We lock the door. We shut ourselves in. You can think of this, why this happens, in a number of different ways. First, if you have not forgiven another person or a situation for harm done to you, then you are attached to it. If you have not forgiven yourself for some wrongful act or for some harm done to another or to yourself, then you are attached to it. And as I've described before, these lines of attachment, they're gooey and they're sticky, and they bind you to the person who has wronged you, or they bind you to the situation that has done you harm. These lines of attachment are like anchors, and they prevent you from moving forward. They literally lock you into the past. Because when you have not forgiven, and you are attached to someone or something that has done you wrong, whether it's every day or every other day or every week or every month, you are spending time rethinking the situation, reliving it, re-experiencing it again, and again. So instead of being in the present, in the here and now, you are stuck in the past. This is what lack of forgiveness does. Lack of forgiveness is in the lower realities. It's in the physical, emotional, and mental. It's in the world of Maya, glamour, and illusion. So if you're stuck in lack of forgiveness, that's where you are in consciousness. And the only way to free yourself from that is to raise your vibration and raise your consciousness. Stated another way, if you are attached to someone or something that has harmed you, you're paying attention to that. And as we teach here at the Spirit of Lotus, what you pay attention to is what you energize. So why would you spend time energizing something that is harmful to you, that is not constructive, that is not fruitful, that is not joyful, that is not loving? I want to make something very clear here about forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean that you are accepting the act of wrongdoing or the act of harm. So for things like battery or rape or murder or violent thought, fraud, just because you're forgiving a person who has done those things to you, or forgiving yourself because you personally have done them, this is not an acceptance of the act. Those things remain harmful, remain wrong, remain in the lower realities. It's through forgiveness, though, that you are freeing yourself from the harm caused by those acts. You're allowing yourself to move on, to take a step forward, to not be defined by those horrible acts. Also, with forgiveness, I want to emphasize that because you are forgiving somebody, it doesn't mean that you have to like that person. It doesn't mean that you have to associate that person. It doesn't mean that you have to continue in a relationship with that person. It simply means that you are willing to absolve yourself from attachment to them, negative attachment, and you are willing to move forward so that you can pass through the eye of the needle. With forgiveness, the goal is not to change the other person. The goal is not to fix them or to make them better. Really, the goal of forgiveness is to improve your own existence and your own life. The purpose is to better yourself and to free yourself. So like I said before, we are often our own jailers. However, we can choose to unlock the jail cell. We can choose to open the door. We can choose to walk out of the jail and to free ourselves. Forgiveness is a path of freedom. The Bible says something interesting about forgiveness. The Bible, in various sections, associates forgiveness with love. If you are able to forgive, you are able to love. Love another person, love a situation, love yourself. Without love, there is no forgiveness. Without love, there is separation. And with separation, you will never be able to realize your true God self. Because we are connected to everything, and more than that, we are everything. Our true God self is unity with all that exists. So you can see that if there is no love, if there is no forgiveness, if there is separation, you will not be able to realize your God self. You will not be able to achieve enlightenment. So that is what I wanted to share today. And now we will have time for a deep level meditation.